It doesn't help that the doll looks
Dead and gaping.
dead and gaping, the title of my studio album.
Zoinks. Hello, best friend Brenbrens, and welcome back to Season 3 of Rewatching Home Movies, a weekly watch-along podcast where three friends break down the 1999 animated series Home Movies. My name's Tim, and I'm obsessed with home movies.
My name's Adele, and I'm a home movies newbie.
And my name is Marcin, and I've never seen home movies.
Home Movies, Season 3, Episode 11, titled Broken Dreams. Original air date November 17th, 2002 on Adult Swim, written by Brendan Small and Bill Broaddus, and cast, directed by Lauren Bouchard and produced by Carl Adams. Synopsis for this episode: Melissa breaks her arm, then suspiciously, Jason breaks his arm too. Brendan is concerned that Melissa may be smarter than him. Meanwhile, Coach McGurk pursues his newfound dream of being a lifeguard. So there you go.
So, Broken Dream. That one's a bit confusing.
So what's really funny was when Adele and I watched this episode the other day, I was like, I guess the title really is like, they broke their arms, broken dreams. That's it. And then I started doing the breakdown, and I'm like, well, there are three characters who allegedly break their arms. Mm-hmm. There is Coach McGurk, who apparently has now a dream of being a lifeguard.
Yeah.
And that's harder than he thought. And then Brendan does have a dream. I'm really stretching.
He's got a couple dreams in there. It's kind of he's going on a dream montage this episode.
Yeah, he's on some dream journeys. So we will definitely get into all of that. But first, let's get into the creative corner, shall we? The creative corner, of course, is something in the realm of creativity that we are consuming or producing that we would like to bring to light. So for this creative corner, please bring us in Mr. Christopher Walken. Creative corner, doodly-doo. I can't believe we booked him. That was wild. Who wants to go first?
I will go first. Also, can we have Nate do the doodly-doo entry when... Yeah, we can cut that out.
Oh, yeah.
I know exactly which one he's going to do.
We should have made Chris do it when he was
We
here.
should have. Okay, so to start us off here, I asked earlier before we even started, would this be kind of acceptable? It's because it's a bit soapboxy what I'm talking about. What I have today is kind of an anti-creative corner. Yeah. So I just to step on my soapbox a little bit, because this is just something that I wake up to on a daily nightmare, which is just the ever nightmare-inducing march that is AI right now. And a lot of people think it's just, fun, this is me, take a picture, and then they put a filter on it. That's all well and good. We all went through the Snapchat filter days where we were sitting there and our nose is gone, and our eyes are bigger than our head. That's all fun. I just really want to put a punctuation on where I stand on it, because it is something that is incredibly anti-creative. If everybody remembers the Coca-Cola commercial that they do every year for Christmas, and this past Christmas, they did an entire commercial for Coca-Cola in AI. And I told this to Tim and Adele. I think a month ago, I went to a filmmaker networking event here in Chicago, and they had some guests on who were talking about artificial intelligence and how it's the bee's knees and how it's going to be helping a lot of independent filmmakers. And they talked about how all these corporations are going to start using AI, and if you don't, you'll be left behind. And they started the whole event with this big panel and this big PowerPoint that said, "Are creatives on the endangered species list?" No. And then just went on and on about AI and how it's good. And they even brought up the Coca-Cola commercial. And when they asked for questions, my hand shot up, and I talked about how do you say that creatives are not on the endangered species list when you just cited an example of the biggest advertising monolith in the entire world? Coca-Cola is a massive marketing thing. And all of the directors, writers, screenwriters, actors, color graders, sound engineers who lost the opportunity, lost a job to artificial intelligence. They had no right answer for it, but I just want to talk more about it. Like, this hurts everybody. This hurts voice actors. This hurts screenwriters. The amount of people I know who just, I need to write an essay for school, so let me just like hop on ChatGPT. ChatGPT took 2 minutes to ruin the internet, ruin just everything. Humanity, in a blink of an eye, everything was gobbled up and now is pushed out into so many different places and ruining it. It is not just destructive to the creative process because it is taking away the actual process of creating, finding yourself. As someone who really did find himself because of my relationship to art, creating, the process of writing all of these different things, or just painting, or any of my creative processes, I have found myself because of art, and I worry about the people who won't be able to do that because of the monkey paw that is artificial intelligence. But not only like the dismissal of all of these different creative opportunities and jobs for a creative people, but in the day and age that we're living in, like the propaganda machine, the way it can just make everything not what it actually is, it is a scary thing. And I don't want to go too far into depth about it, but it is something that like keeps me up at night, especially because I have so many creative friends, so many amazing people who are just fighting to be recognized in this creative space, and they can't be because there are things like the algorithm and this AI slop that is just thrown down everybody's throats, and they just gobble it up because, you know what, that's what we're being handed. There's so much. And let me just, I brought this article up at one point, and I asked Tim to cut it because it didn't make sense with my creative corner. But one of the things that I wanted to bring up is there an article, this thing that happened on November 20th, 2024. Google AI chatbot responds with threatening message, quote, "Human, please die." And essentially this guy asked for homework, asked for some questions and to this conversation, and was asking about a question for his homework. And the response that this AI had was, "This is for you, human, you and only you. You are not special, you are not important, and you are not needed. You are a waste of time and resources. You are a burden on society. You are a drain on the earth. You are a blight on the landscape. You are a stain on the universe. Please die. Please." That is what AI said to this person. And there's countless other stories of how AI has really ruined other people and convinced other people to do some bad things. I don't want to go further into this because this is a very, very anti-creative corner. But I just wanted to step up on my soapbox and say, like, you see AI, and it's like, a fun little trend here, but it is incredibly destructive. Not only to you, and I don't even want to talk about the environmental ripple effects that it will have, but that's just something I wanted to step up and say, if you see AI, just recognize that is not something that is good for anything, really. It can be used as a tool, but right now, under capitalism, it is used to replace human beings.
Can I just piggyback off of what you have to say? So specifically when AI art first came out, it didn't give me as much pause as it does now because it was like so bad. You know, I'm like, you can totally tell this is like not by an actual person. It has gotten significantly better and is getting better and is going to continue to get better. The thing that worries me the most is specifically on the internet, we're not going to know what's real and what's fake anymore. And to just reiterate what you've been saying, like, this is why we need to support artists, go out and like go to shows and go to art galleries and go to places that have actual artists that are producing art and support them. Because sometime very soon in the future, the internet is going to be a lot worse than it already is. It's going to be a lot more fake than it already is, and it's going to be a place where you cannot find any true information whatsoever. Even if there is true information in there, you're not going to be able to tell if it is or not. So just keep that in mind. Try and stay off the internet as much as you can, because it's going to ruin our brains.
And I am going to piggyback off that.
Okay.
And there's going to be I'm going to keep it kind of vague. There's going to be more information about this coming up in a few weeks, if you just stay tuned, as it were. But I've noticed now that there have become these pockets of artists, and whether it's through real life galleries or some kind of protected website, are able to produce these spaces for artists to share their artwork without it getting kind of thrown into the AI training. So that's going to be a big thing, I think, for artists, is you have to protect your work. Just throwing your art up on like Facebook or Instagram now is a very dangerous game, because you probably signed away something a year ago saying that all of your images and whatever can be used to train AI. So we need to make sure that the art that we are sharing is shared in a way that we're not letting it continue to get fed into the AI machine to get quote unquote better at producing art by, ripping off actual artists. So a big thing for that too is find a way in your art, in your community, to protect each other and your art from this like AI training machine.
Yeah. That's a big one. That's something I'm worried about for Puzzle Valley, because like it's just out in the ether right now, and it could get gobbled up. It already is gobbled up, and that would break my heart in an infinite amount of pieces. That's why if you see AI, and if you see people who don't recognize the dangers in using AI, point it. Like, you don't listen. If you've used AI, I've used AI before, especially in the early days when it's like, haha, look at this. I can put in a little thing and it'll show whatever it is. Like that, we all have. It's a curiosity thing. But at this point, it's a danger to everything. And in the right hands, sure. Yeah. Right now, no, absolutely not. Not even an argument to be had. But that's just something I wanted to step up and say, because there's so much destructive qualities to that. Even just people in general. You could just have a picture of somebody and then generate them naked doing stuff that they do not consent to do. That is inhumane.
And things like this podcast, all of our voices are on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's easy for just AI to copy how we sound and call our parents and tell them whatever they want. So it's a scary time we're living
absolutely.
in. Go outside. Go out where reality is, not the internet. Because
and
that
support
shit's fake.
local artists. And I'm going to
absolutely
100%
step off my soapbox now. All right.
That was a great soapbox.
It was a very good soapbox. I am going to just kind of add to this, and then I'm going to count this as my creative corner, because I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to call myself out, Marcin. I know you're very passionate about your distrust of AI, and like you said, it's something you've used in the past, and I will very much admit that I have used AI generated images to produce flyers and stuff like that for like comedy shows, open mics and stuff that I ran. And it was the last one that I had to make that I actually made the conscious decision that I'm no longer going to use AI generated imagery to make any flyers or anything for any of my comedy, any of my events. I think my justification before was something along the lines of, I make our flyers anyway, so I wasn't really one that went out and looked for artists to pay to do this. So if I'm making it anyway, then who cares if it's AI generated? Well, the people whose art gets thrown into this machine to teach the AI are the ones who are getting affected by this. So I'm going to take my creative corner to say that this is my official breakup with AI generated imagery. I am no longer going to use it for any comedy flyers. I have never used it for anything with the podcast. Our flyers, everything has been 100% either us or commissioned by artists. We tag them at the end of every episode and give them credit and all that stuff. So yeah, nothing on this podcast was generated by AI. It never will be. And moving forward, none of my comedy related flyers will have any AI generated imagery as well. So there you go.
Love that.
And that's my creative corner. Thank you.
That's your creative corner?
I'll just count that as my creative corner.
All right. Well, mine has nothing to do with AI.
No,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
so okay with that.
Sorry. So this year, I don't know if you've seen on the internet, there's the 30th anniversary of the Goofy movie.
Yep.
And so Tim and I watched it last night, and oh shit, does that shit still hold up, man? Like, there were jokes that it didn't register as a kid that I was like laughing out loud at as an adult.
We were boogieing down.
The music is great. Eye to Eye is definitely going to be being played at our wedding. But ever since doing this podcast and hearing like the animators talk about working on home movies, it really makes you watch animated movies, especially like back in the 90s and before that, where everything was hand drawn by like actual people. It made me watch the movie in like a whole new light, and it was like so fun to revisit and hear the jokes that I would laugh at as a kid, and just it was a good time. The music is great, the storyline is wholesome, and it's
an incredible one.
That's my creative
A
corner.
Goofy movie is so good. Nick, my partner, loves a Goofy movie. It was their childhood nostalgic one that they would just put on.
Mm-hmm.
The VHS that you ruin because you just play it over and over. And that was one of the ones I also watched a lot, just because, daddy issues. What can I say? And then you really resonate with Max when you're a kid. And you're like, oh, come on. He just wants to hang out with the girl. He just wants to be cool for a bit. And that opening scene when he comes out and that was my dream, and just like performs in front of the whole school and instantly I'm the coolest kid in the world. Yeah.
Flying on a rope.
Bullying the principal. Fuck him. Yeah. Pauly Shore's in there. Yeah, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
It's the Leaning Tower of Cheesa.
I love a Goofy movie. It's actually one of the only VHSs I have.
Oh, shit.
I have like 10
dude.
VHSs, because you can't really keep a huge collection of VHSs unless you have a Blockbuster in the basement. But a Goofy movie on VHS is the perfect way to go. It's just so... And now when you're an adult, like right now I'm an adult, I feel for Goofy so much. Just the part where
he's just...
I wanted my own life. Well, I just wanted to be a part of it.
Oh my god, it's so sad.
But it's
so heart-wrenching.
Good. Love.
He's like, I was just trying to keep you out of the electric chair. He's like, what are you talking about? My favorite is the Lester's Possum Park.
I love when Sasquatch is on top of the car, so they have to like do the soup thing, and then when Max hands it back to the dad, and it's
Oh, it's so good. Go watch that movie. It turns 30
it's so
this
good.
year. Tim loved it.
Fun fact.
Yeah, we watched it. It was fun.
Did you not like it?
No, I liked it. I'm pretty sure this is the second time we've watched it together.
Yeah, I think we watched it when we first started.
Yeah, probably in the pandemic.
Fun fact: the voice actor for Max is voice acts in a lot of things, and he's one of the. I didn't know, but he's one of the followers in New Vegas. He plays Boone, and Boone's a very like, I hate everything. Bad things have happened. I want to kill things. So when I hear Max in doing that, I just hear Max now, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, Max. What happened to you?
That's funny.
Goofy brought us in last week. We should have done that.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
I
Sorry.
goofed. All right, are you guys ready to break down this episode?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Yes,
Broken Dreams. So this episode opens and we see a shot of the Pauline LeBlanc Memorial Hospital. Although we seem to be struggling to keep the hospital in frame. We pull back to reveal that Melissa, wearing a cast, is pulling Brendan in a wagon as he's getting an establishing shot. She's obviously struggling. And that's when we have Jason walk into the scene and ask if this is rehearsal or we're actually taping. So the movie scene, it opens up. Jason is a patient and Brendan is asking him questions. We see a sign on the back wall for the brain exchange. Jason, the patient, Mr. Fitzpanson, is asking Brendan if he'll be able to do certain things with his new brain, like reading and driving. Jason thanks Brendan, and Brendan tells him not to thank him, And that's when Melissa barges in the room. Brendan tells Jason to thank her. Doctor saves a lot. Melissa immediately tells Brendan not to talk to her patient. She goes on to brag about how smart she is, saying her knowledgeableness is surpassed only by her proficiency in the area in which here too is noting that being of intelligence transformation, i.e. brain replacement.
Doesn't she cut off Brendan because he's like, I told you she was smart.
Yeah.
Melissa's a little mean in this
It's
episode.
the character.
I'll admit it.
Yes.
She was a little mean outside of the character too, but we can get to that when we get to it.
I think Jason's rubbing off on her. But you notice that with hospital dramas, they always have like a no nonsense. I'm gonna like call you an asshole and walk away.
Right.
House.
The I'm smarter than you. You're just the nurse. I'm the doctor here.
Okay, sweetie.
I love Dr. House. I love that show. I love his character, but he's the biggest piece of shit I've ever met.
Right.
God damn. And then Dr. Cox from Scrubs is just like that type of flavor. But for some reason, always in these hospital dramas, there's that one prick. And Melissa happens to be that this episode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she brags to Jason that when she's done with him, he'll be the envy of all the idiots on his block. And Jason even points out, there's a lot of idiots on my block. At one point, Melissa calls Brendan nurse, and Jason claims he said he was a doctor, but then specifies that he called him a doctor and Brendan just never corrected him. At one point, Brendan says, I think, and Melissa immediately tells him he doesn't have to think because she's the doctor, and even calls him a numbskull. It's at that point Jason asks the doctor how she's going to perform delicate brain surgery while wearing a cast. Melissa pauses to tell Brendan that's not in the script, and Brendan says, just for the record, neither is calling me a numbskull.
That's what I was going to talk about.
Right. From the go, you can tell Brendan's like, you're adding a lot of extra lines there, Melissa. There's something about just a perfectly timed Brendan Small throat clear that's just like, yes, well, neither was calling me a numbskull.
I think about that with Storm Warning when he was talking to McGurk. He's like, just say you see the lines right there where it says, what was it?
Brad. Yeah.
Brad. That's, you see Brad? And he's like, so you've been, you wanted to be in a movie and you're only in for 40 seconds. Brendan gets angry, but he get funny when he angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Melissa pushes back and says that's what her character would have said. And Brendan tells Jason not to mention Melissa's cast. And Jason pushes back, saying whether he mentions it or not, people are going to notice that a brain surgeon has a broken arm. Even saying he should be playing the smart doctor, and Melissa can play the idiot patient because he has 2 free arms. I like this part because Brendan calls cut and then comments because none of this is usable.
I mean, Jason has a point, you know.
Right.
Who wants brain surgery with somebody who can only use one hand?
Exactly. And even if they don't mention it, like the cast is there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but you don't want to dig too far into the plot holes, especially if Melissa's right for the part. And I think Melissa's right for the part.
Yeah.
Oh, she most certainly is. Yeah.
Well, we have a quick following scene where Melissa is still playing the doctor, but they're doing the thing where Brendan is standing behind her and he is pretending to be her arms. So at one point, Jason says, Melissa, stop tickling me. And Melissa points out it's not her, it's Brendan. And then if you pay close attention, I think Melissa punches Jason in the nuts.
Oh, 100%.
And he yells and she's like, that was me.
Yeah.
Cheap shot.
Yeah, see, Melissa's got some weird moxie going on. She's going power hungry right now. In the next scene, Brennan gives her a compliment, and she's like, "Oh yeah, yeah," and she's almost cleaning her nails. Yeah, this episode, but with the hands around that, it reminded me of that scene from Season of the Cursed where my character is supposed to play a ukulele, but I don't know how to play a ukulele. So we did a close up, and Nate did his hands in front of my chest to play the ukulele.
That's so funny.
Well, the next scene, we're at school. It appears we're on a playground. Melissa's telling Walter and Perry and some other unknown students the story of how she broke her arm. I love it because she keeps setting up the story saying, I was going to get a skate under my dad's car, and Walter and Perry would cheer, yay! And my dad didn't see. Yay!
Mm-hmm.
And then he ran over my arm and broke it. And then like, oh! And so she tells the story again, and it's like the same reactions.
It's slightly different this time.
It was like that in grade school, though.
Oh, I had never broken an arm before.
Well, neither have I, but like when somebody came to school with a broken arm, like everybody wanted to hear the story. Everybody wanted to be around them, and it's like, I might have been a little Jason-y in the moment. And like, why? Who cares? I mean, I'm sorry for you, but like, maybe there's just bitter kid Adele.
I've always wanted the cast just so I can have somebody sign it, because I think that was the thing. I love the signing people's casts. I don't know why that became such a trend, because you can't keep it, really. You're going to break it off.
It probably has links to witchcraft like everything else does.
Probably.
Yeah. Pagan tradition, I guess.
When she said that Eric like ran over her arm, I wanted to see that scene because I know Eric would have had some good fucking line for that.
Yeah.
So I prepared 2 just in case. What I think Eric might have said when he got out of the car and saw, he's like, well, I asked you to break a leg, not your arm. And I can't take you to the doctor. I just ate an apple. Those are the 2 Eric lines I would have expected.
Melissa asks Walter and Perry if they want to sign her cast. I did pause, and on her cast, we do see a few signatures. There's Dave, Sue, and Tim. That's right.
Shit.
I signed it. Walter starts to sign it, and he's like, Dear Perry, before Melissa stops him. Well, that's when we pan over to Brendan and Jason on a seesaw. Jason is saying he's not going to sign their stupid cast. And Brendan even comments like, yeah, you already said that. Jason reiterates he's not going to sign the cast. And then we hear Melissa off screen say, hey, Jason, you want to sign my cast? And immediately Jason's like, okay.
My favorite scene.
He's got a little he's got little something in his eyes when he says it too.
Right. I know McGurk and Jason are obviously voiced by the same dude, but Jason was definitely giving a little McGurk at his little rant.
He really was. There's a lot of different things that happened this episode with a bunch of different characters. It seems like everyone kind of switched over a little bit because Melissa was very Jason this episode. I don't know how to feel about that, but
yeah, I think there's something there because there's a scene coming up later in this episode where Brendan was being kind of like season 1 gross Jason.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And he goes to the library, so he's a little bit like Melissa, where he's like, he doesn't want to be stupid. He wants to be smart. Everyone's switching a little bit.
Right.
Also, just the cast thing. So we don't know a lot of the other kids in the background, but because of the cast now, we have names for these people. There's an Ed, there's a Dave, there's a Tim, there's a Sue, a Jamie, an NJ. I wrote down Skids and AZ for later. But there's also one in cursive. I don't know what that one is. But we have these names now. These people exist in the background, and I'm going to find out which one's which.
I want to know who Skids is.
We'll find out. I think we'll find Skids really quickly.
The next scene, we're in school. Brendan and Melissa are at their lockers. Brendan's making an offhanded comment that Melissa breaking her arm was pretty good timing because now she doesn't have to take the science test. Melissa says she wouldn't break her arm just to skip a test because it's just a test. Well, Brendan says that's easy for you to say because you're smarter than, and then stops himself. Melissa immediately clocks it and asks Brendan what he was about to say because it sounded like he was about to say that she's smarter than him. Brendan asks why he would say such a lie, and Melissa said because it's true. I like this part because Brendan's like, well, then let me ask you this statement. Let me make this statement. I'm faster than you. Here we go.
That got a tickle out of Adele, I saw.
Yeah.
Just because he runs for 1.1 seconds and then comes back completely out of breath. Well, Melissa asks him what he got on the math test last week because she got an A.
See, this is where I think Melissa is being mean outside of the doctor character. Because she was asking that just so she could feel good about herself. She knows she got a better grade than him.
Yep.
Come on, girl. What are you doing?
hanging out with Jason. That's what she's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we've touched on this in the past because this is the setup for the character of Brendan. He's not stupid. He just obviously he has ADD and he's got anxiety with test taking and stuff like that. I get it. But he's not stupid. He's not. He's incredibly smart, especially to like be making all these movies at 8 years old. Brendan goes on to say he did get an A on the test. Actually, he got a lot of letters. SMALL. That's me, Brandon Small. Then he says, I gotta go. The next scene, we see Melissa and Coach McGurk at a soccer game. Coach tells Melissa to get in the game, and she reminds him that her arm is broken. Well, he argues that her arm is protected by a cast, and then it's safer than it was before.
That got me so good. The logic there.
It's real. It's real logic.
It is.
You have a cast? If someone punches you in the face with a cast, you're out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if that cast did get blasted with a soccer ball, it might have some effect on her healing process. So I understand like the not wanting to, but I mean, Coach is like, yeah, it's even more protected than it was without a cast. So what are you doing?
It's like telling children to go upstairs when there's a tornado.
Exactly.
Well, if they're all in the same room, they'll all knock each other when they get sucked up.
Yeah, their heads will knock.
Well, Melissa insists that it's not a good idea. So he tells her that instead she needs to go to the sub shop and get him a steak and cheese with peppers and onions. She asks Coach if he has any money, and he says no, and tells Melissa to go to her locker and get some. She tells him that she only has $1, so he takes out a check and tells her to fill it out. He tells her to sign the name that's on top here, and he moves his finger to reveal that this is Mr. Lynch's check.
I know Marcin clocked that it was Mr. Lynch's check right away. Was it because of the cat on the check?
Oh, yeah, it was because of the cat. I just re-listened to our history episode because I wanted to make sure if we caught something in the episode. And and then I did catch when you and Craig were talking about the horse mug on Mr. Lynch's desk, and you were both like, it should have been a cat. And I didn't know why at the time until later on we find out Mr. Lynch loves kitty cats.
Interesting.
Who doesn't?
Yes, kitty cat checks. But yeah, Coach McGurk says him and Mr. Lynch share checks sometimes.
We share.
Our checks.
As awful as Mr. McGurk is, it's just the way he says things, it hits home every time.
Yeah. Like when he's explaining how to fill out the check, he's like, you write the total here, and then you write it out here, which I thought it was always dumb.
I also think that's kind of dumb, to be honest.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever have to do the thing in school? I mean, I was a little bit older, but did you ever have like a fake checkbook in school?
Yeah, where you had to learn how to write a check. It was like fucking third grade. What third grader is going to be fucking writing checks?
Right. So when we did it, it would be like if you got like a really good grade or something happened, like you would get these little things you can deposit into your checkbook. And so it was like a whole economy system. You could use checks to buy like free time or candy or, whatever.
Yeah.
And one day, one of the students is like, oh, can we write a check to another student for a physical item? And the teacher's like, no. And he's like, well, in real life, you can write a check to someone for a physical item. And the teacher's like, well, touche. And I remember there was a kid who he's like, oh yeah, I got all these Game Boys games. And I'm like, oh, I'll give you $10 in classroom money for this Game Boy game. And he's like, okay, I don't play it. So
damn.
I'm over here writing checks for video games at 9.5 years old.
Wow. Making your own currency.
Yeah. Scamming people early.
Yeah.
It wasn't a scam, dude. He got cash money.
Spoon feeding that capitalism at an early age.
Ain't that how it go?
That's crazy though. I mean, props to your teacher. That's super clever.
Yeah.
We just learned like on a chalkboard and like doing it like on a worksheet. It wasn't like an actual activity.
Oh yeah, no, it was like a 2 or 3 week thing where like we had checkbooks and we all had account balances and we had to like balance our checkbooks and shit.
Do you remember what grade?
If I had to guesstimate, I would say like maybe 7th or 8th grade.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I went to public school, so they didn't really. They always promised to teach us that. They said next year, and then it never happened. So I was out of luck.
Oh, yes. I went to private school, so.
I went to private school.
I know, I was just joking. Well, you went to Catholic school. That's,
Yeah.
Private Catholic school.
Wow.
Yeah. What can you do?
Exactly.
Fancy pants, Rich McGee over here.
Well, first of all,
I went to public school, which you would know if you saw my spelling. So.
I went to private school, which you wouldn't know because my spelling also sucks.
So the moral is all school systems will fail you.
Absolutely, especially in America. I blame autocorrect for my spelling, though.
I also,
I get
yes, that is real.
Yeah.
Autocorrect
Yeah.
has ruined my sense of spelling.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Coach McGurk sends Melissa off to get the sub and yells at Brendan to come over and asks him if he has his head in the game. Brendan totally looks like he's daydreaming. I think he's like looking up at a cloud. So Brendan confesses he's got a big science test coming up, and Coach says, so what? This is a soccer game. You do science tests in science class. You play soccer out here on the soccer field.
Sound logic.
I mean, yeah. So, oh God, this part. Brendan asks Coach genuinely, Coach, do you think I'm stupid? And Coach replies, of course you're stupid. All kids are stupid.
So real.
But if you remember the tornado storm warning episode, he tells Paula that he's smart.
Brendan's a smart kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what started the whole conversation of like book smart versus street smart.
Yeah. I mean, listen,
So,
objectively, all kids are stupid, but it's because they don't know experience.
They
Right.
just
That-
got here.
yeah.
Yeah.
All kids are ignorant. All kids are ignorant because they lack the knowledge due to lack of human experience.
Yeah. That was always such a frustrating thing as like the youngest sibling is because all your older siblings just make fun of how dumb you are. And it's like, I didn't know. I'm just a baby.
I recall something like that happening in my family with like our dynamic, like the older making fun of the younger for not knowing. And it got to a point where my parents are like, hey, you could teach them.
Hey.
Yeah.
See, Mr. and Mrs. B know what they're doing. My parents would be like, just ignore them.
No. I regret doing this, but when I knew how to read and my brother didn't, we would play Yu-Gi-Oh! And I would read his cards for him, but I would always tell him that like his cards made him lose, so I would win every time.
Wow.
Yeah, I was
This
bad.
code makes it so you got to give me all your Game Boy games.
Oh my God. Fucking maniacal, dude. That's crazy.
We don't speak
It's
Like,
anymore.
how come I never win? That's wild.
You can cut that if you want, Tim. I don't know if you want to, but you can.
No, it's fine. Brendan's worried about the test. Coach says he's got a big test coming up, but he's not letting that distract him from the soccer game. Brendan asks him what kind of test, and that's when Coach explains that he wants to take a lifeguard test. Brendan seems confused and even asks Coach, don't you have to be in shape for that? And Coach pushes back and says 20 years ago you had to be in shape. He then confesses that he's actually doing it for the money. That one time a lifeguard saved a kid's life, and the kid's parents were rich, so they gave the lifeguard $1 million.
Damn. That's like $5 million today.
It's like
Mhm.
$2.3 billion.
Where's this 2.3 keep coming from?
Has he said that before?
He says
Probably.
it several times in the last episode.
Any dollar amount comes out, and I'm like, and that's like $2.3 billion in today's,
That's his angel number is 2.3. It's very specific.
which means I'm going to make $2.3 billion.
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
We'll
Actually,
have to
no,
eat
because
you.
if you're making $1 billion, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
True. I'll make $999 million
Tim
and then
Blazekowicz.
call it. Be like, we did it. We're there.
I'm still a good person, guys.
Yeah. So, yeah, Coach's theory is he just has to save a rich kid's ass and he'll be on Easy Street. Well, that's when Melissa comes back from the sub shop and says that they won't give her the sub, but they will give her this, and then produces a ripped up check. Coach encourages her to go back with a different check. And I don't know if you saw this check, but it said J. Kirkman.
Is that not the nurse?
That is the nurse. Nurse
Damn.
Kirkman, who is also voiced by Jen Kirkman. So,
I want to know how he got her check.
because they share things.
We share.
Can I see your checkbook, Mr. McGurk?
Yeah.
It's in my car.
Here comes the Brendan acting as Jason scene. So we're in the kitchen. Paula's talking to Brendan while cooking. She's telling him he's not dumb, he's creative. Creative people don't always get good grades because they're different. She even compares him to cooking, saying you don't measure. You're the kind of person that just throws something in the pot and then you come out with a beautiful dish.
Aw, I want Paula to be my mom.
Same.
Even goes on to say that the classroom is probably too restrictive for him. So she's like very understanding of, kind of Brendan and what he's going through. But as she's saying all this, Brendan is continuously drinking a cup of what looks like chocolate milk. I think there's even like a cocoa milk jug on the side there. And he is drinking it and then regurgitating it back into the cup to drink again.
He likes his chocolate milk warm.
If you didn't catch it the first couple of times, they give a nice straight on shot of it happening.
Yeah.
So thank you, animators, for that one.
But before he was doing the chocolate milk bit, he was doing that classic little kid thing where you like suck the cup onto your face
Yes.
and it stays there. I was
Classic.
like, oh shit, that brings back memories.
And you get Kendall Jenner lips.
Yeah.
Or the circle around
Yeah,
your
the
mouth.
ring.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's funny. Well, next we're at the pool, and we've got people, and they're taking their lifeguard classes. So I don't know if you noticed, but on the back wall, we do see a poster that says Adult Swim on it.
Oh, I didn't see it. I was too busy looking at the fact that the pool went from 4 feet to 10 feet immediately.
Right. Well, that's the thing. We see a bunch of people in the pool holding bricks above their heads, and we see the instructor telling them 2 more minutes, and they're doing great. But as we go down the line, we see McGurk is standing at the shallow end holding up the bricks. So immediately the drill instructor tells him to get to the deep end, and when Coach does, he immediately starts drowning. To the point that the instructor finally yells at someone to go help him.
So he can't swim.
It appears like it.
Is that why he was washed up on the beach that one day?
Could have been. Comedy does that to you, baby.
Can't swim. 2 things on the Adult Swim front. It says from 10 to 1. Was that the original Adult Swim block schedule from 10 to 1?
I feel like it was. I feel like it was pretty close.
Genius.
Very smart.
And then I also wrote down here, McGurk with his shirt off. Woohoo!
It's doing something for you.
He's got some body hair.
Yeah.
He's got a farmer's tan, blonde body hair too. Wild.
His tattoos are gone.
I miss his tattoos, that's right.
Yeah.
Tim warned us from day one that we were going to lose the tattoos, but I wasn't ready. I didn't appreciate them while they were there.
We lost the tattoos, but we gained body hair.
Yeah. Let's say that the body hair is covering the tattoos. Let's say that, shall we?
Yeah.
The next scene, we have Brendan studying in his room. Behind him, we do see a gnome chilling next to a teddy bear. He says, I need to take a break. And that's when we see him put a tape in, and the music starts, and we have a pretty sweet dancing montage. The lyrics of the song, Trust Yourself. Very positive song. And Brendan has got some moves.
Yeah, he does. It's the dancing alone moves.
Yeah, dancing like nobody's watching.
Uh-huh.
Somebody was watching.
They were. I don't know if you guys noticed, but the dance that he's doing as Paula walks in, anytime we send a Brendan, like that's the Brendan dancing gif that
Yeah.
usually gets sent to the group chat.
Yeah.
So, yep, as he's dancing, we see Paula walk by with laundry and then come back into Brendan's room to catch him dancing red-handed. Brendan says he was just studying and asks if he woke her up. Paula said, woke me up. It's 5:30. I was coming to tell you that dinner is ready. Brendan is like genuinely amazed it's only 5:30 and says it feels like I've been studying for hours. And that's when Paula lets him know he's been studying for about 10 minutes.
This is life with ADHD.
Yep. You guys ever have anybody walking on you dancing before?
Yeah. I've had people walk in on me doing a lot of things.
Okay.
Tim's face. Yeah, I've had people walking on me dancing and then tell me that I have no rhythm. But that's not the point of dancing.
That's not nice.
No, it's not. They told me to get hip hop abs because that would give me abs and also teach me how to dance.
Oh, that's funny.
We're back in class, and we see Brendan is taking a test and thinking to himself, hey, this is actually pretty easy. We see Melissa turn around and ask Brendan what he's doing and says, you're not smart. You're stupid. And that's when her hair bursts into flames and she has a claw for a hand. I like this. Brendan's like, oh, yeah, I forgot. And that's when we see Melissa's claw arm extend across the classroom through Brendan's forehead and grabs his brain coming out the back of his head. And that's when we see that it's Brendan having a nightmare.
Was his pajamas green?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, that's new. I like that. I liked the animation of the brain coming out of the back of the head, the slime and everything.
I like the animation of Melissa turning into that
yeah,
whatever
that
that
was
is.
cool too.
It was like the mask spinning.
Well, I like that because we go from that nightmare immediately to Brendan explaining to Melissa that he just wrote a movie about a girl with an iron claw, and he's going to call it The Girl with the Iron Claw. Melissa says she likes it, and immediately Brendan squints his eyes, and he's like, I thought you might.
And then immediately takes out a book and starts reading in front of her.
Well, Melissa is like, how's studying going? And he's like, great. And then immediately, takes out the book and he's got the finger moving across the page. Melissa asks Brendan if he needs help. And Brendan says no. And he doesn't need Melissa's self-pity. Well, that's when Melissa corrects him and says it's not self-pity. It's just pity. That's when we see Jason approach and say good morning. And we see that he's got a cast on his arm. Melissa asks if he broke it, and he said, oh, yeah, big time. Snapped it right in two. Immediately, Walter and Perry approach and ask Jason if he broke his arm. When Jason confirms, they're like, follow-up question. Can we sign your cast? Dude, one of them opens their shirt, and they've just got markers lined on the inside.
I believe that was Walter. That was funny.
So, of course, Jason says yes.
They sign on Jason's arm, or Jason's cast, what they were going to sign on Melissa's cast before she stopped them.
Right, which we do see in a later scene. I like it as everyone is signing that bad boy, I think he says at one point to Melissa. He looks over and says, all right, Melissa, I'll be with you in a second. Even tells her she looks nice today. That's a cute little outfit.
Still chatting her up.
Yep. Melissa says to Brendan, it's quite a coincidence she broke her arm. Jason acts jealous, and now he has a broken arm. And Brendan says out loud, you think he's faking? And Melissa says, I don't know. I don't know. But yes, I think he is. Well, now we're back in lifeguard class. It's McGurk's turn to try resuscitating the dummy. He's obviously very nervous and doesn't want to do it. Even cracks a couple jokes, like drown here often.
It doesn't help that the doll looks
Dead and gaping.
Dead and gaping, the title of my studio album.
Zoinks.
It felt bad after I said it. But here we are.
So McGurk calls the instructor over and tells him he thinks it's disgusting to do the resuscitation on the doll. And the instructor assures him that they sterilize it after every person. And Coach says that's not the issue. It's actually the act itself. The instructor reminds him that they're there to save people's lives, but Coach pushes back and says he can't kiss the dummy. The instructor clarifies he's not kissing it. You're breathing into it, trying to resuscitate it. So Coach asks again if they clean it, and the instructor says, yeah, we sterilize them after every kissing. And immediately Coach is like, you said that it wasn't kissing. And the instructor is like, hey, it's pretty much like kissing. Huh?
And that's when I decided he was going to be my doodle.
Hell yeah.
This drill instructor, so I noticed there was no one else credited on this episode voice-wise. I did have to look it up. The Ho Movies fandom wiki got me on this one. That is voiced by Brendan Small. Once you know it's Brendan and you kind of listen, you can hear it a little bit. But yeah, it's Brendan doing kind of like a authoritative military type, like a drill sergeant, which is, I think, what I put him down as multiple times. But he's a lifeguard instructor, teacher. I don't know. Yep, coach pushes back and said, I thought you breathe into him. And the instructor says, well, yeah, you breathe into someone when you're kissing them, don't you? And immediately Coach McGurk says, no. And the instructor says, well, I do. Coach suggests maybe that's his training and he should just, clock out. And the instructor even says, maybe it is an issue. Maybe I have done it after a couple of drinks. So McGurk asks if the other person would say anything, and the instructor says, yeah, they have said something, and one time they told me not to, and I asked for another chance. And Coach is like, what did you do? He's like, I breathed in him.
Well, there is breathing that happens.
Right.
Doesn't Coach McGurk say that he holds his breath?
Yeah, at one point McGurk's like, I hold my breath.
Just that seems so awkward when you're going to kiss someone and they just start blowing into your mouth and your cheeks fill up. That's like, all right. I don't think I'm giving this guy a second chance, actually.
We get a quick scene where Brendan is sitting on top of a tree in hopes that he falls and breaks his arm to avoid the science test. He hits record on his camera and then quickly realizes he's pretty far up. So he decides to stop the tape. But as soon as he does, I don't know if you see the branch in the background start cracking. And as soon as he hits pause, it breaks and he takes a fall. So we have a shot of him landing and his arm is in one piece and you see him kind of move his hand and he's like, stupid calcium.
Then all the leaves fall onto the camera and cut it as it fades to black.
Yeah. So now we're back at the hospital and we have a quick shot of a bunch of jars on the table. I see liver leftovers. Oh, no, we have livers, leftovers dated from 1998. Eyeballs, Sue.
E Mama?
Was it Sue E? Sue E's pickled, it says human feet, but it said like pig's feet, but that was crossed out. And then we have a bottle of some, I think it's Captain Ooey Gooey's Gluenstein white glue.
Well, it's funny. It's the same thing with the Mandela effect because it's Captain Ooey Gooey Gluenstein's white glue.
Oh, shit.
I swear it's Stein. That's funny. So, yeah, all those, we pan past those on the table real quick. Doctor Saves a Lot and Brendan, as the nurse, are working on Mr. Fitzpanson's new brain. We have a shot where Jason is lying on the table. That's when we can see his cast and what it says, which is, Dear Perry, you are the bestest friend ever. Love, Walter.
Yeah, special friend.
Yes.
Yeah, love that they're taking other people's casts and writing love letters to each other. That's dedication.
Well, Melissa stops mid-operation and confesses that she can't work on this patient. They went out years ago, and he's so stupid that he doesn't remember who she is, and he left her at the altar.
Damn. You know what was funny is she has a locket of a picture of her being left at the altar. She just carries around a necklace with a picture of her being left at the altar for this very moment.
Yep. That's exposition, baby.
Some people hold on to their broken hearts a little too close.
Write that down.
Write that down. That's a song title. Write that down.
For Dead and Gaping.
The doctor says that he doesn't deserve a new brain, and Brendan pushes back and says he already paid. And that's when the doctor decides to give him a towel instead of a brain. So now we cut to Jason post-operation, saying he feels great. He recognizes Penelope Saves a Lot immediately and says they were supposed to get married, but he got lost on the way to the wedding.
It's crazy that he's smarter when he has a towel as a brain instead of an actual brain.
Well, I guess that towel was just a little bit better.
Want to get high?
Don't forget to bring a towel. Well, he then asked Penelope again if she wants to marry him, and she said that was a long time ago, that she would like to, but he's still stupid, and Jason seems confused, saying he should have a new brain. That's when Nurse Brendan points out that she lied. He didn't get a new brain, he got a towel. A towel. Look at me. Man, I'm very wet. I wish I had a towel. That's when Dr. Saves a Lot finally yells, I stuck a towel in your head. You have a towel for a brain. And I love it. The scene ends. Jason is like, no! And then Brendan screams and Melissa screams. She's like, what have I done?
The one sign in the background in this scene says, knowledge is overrated if you're dumb. So I feel like Brendan's like surrounding himself with like signs that say he's dumb, and I think that's what's making him so self-conscious.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that.
It's that negative self-talk. It'll get you.
Well, I mean, he's feeling like he's not the smartest and currently writing a movie about a man so dumb that he gets a towel for a brain and makes him a little smarter. So,
yeah. And even though Jason's the character that's supposed to be dumb, the doctor continuously keeps calling Brendan's character dumb, which is not in the script, but which is why I think Melissa's just being a little bit of a bitch this episode.
It is. Yeah,
I'll say it.
I agree. And it's so funny because it's like life imitating art and art imitating life. So it's Brendan probably is like, what the hell is happening right now?
Everyone's like just mixed up in their personalities.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're back at the lifeguard training. The instructor is dismissing everyone and telling them good luck on their test tomorrow. The crowd clears, and that's when we see Coach McGurk talking to another lifeguard in training. He tells her she's a good swimmer, and he likes when she does the little flip around thing at the end of the pool. He said he tried to do that, but he hit his head a couple of times, and he's actually feeling a little faint and woozy. Yeah, we see multiple bumps on his head, and I think we even start to see blood coming down under his swim cap.
This might be a controversial take on my part, but I think those bumps on the top of his head were probably the grossest thing I've ever seen in the show. I don't know why. I don't know what about them like icked me out so hard, but they just are so gross, and I hate them.
It's not even just 3 of them. There's 5 of them, but 2 of them haven't pierced the cap that he's wearing.
And you know what's so funny, too, is as I talked to more animators that worked on their show, when I ask what their influences are, a lot of times Looney Tunes tends to come up. And that's such a classic Looney Tunes thing of you hit someone, they get that bump, and then you like tap it down to like make it go away.
Dude, I wish they never taught me that. I remember a distinct time where I did get a bump on my head, and I remember going, well, and they tap it down like with a thing. Yeah, exactly. I hit it one time and I was like, yeah, no, that not happened. No, that hurt like a son of a bitch.
Oh my God.
I forgot math. Great job. Too hard. Now I got to hit myself again harder to remember math.
Where's the towel?
I did write down here when he was talking, McGurk was talking. I said, oh no, McGurk talking to women.
It's always a red flag.
It always, every time.
Oh, I like it too, because she walks away and she's like, good night. And he's like, am I going to bed? What's happening right now? Well, the instructor approaches and asks McGurk how many fingers I'm holding up, and then just continues holding up fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's me trip sitting.
Oh, no.
That's mean.
That is mean.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
You're like that until you actually trip one day, and then you're like, oh no, what did I do?
Let me just, for the record, I would never actually do that. I feel really responsible for someone who's like drunk or high around me. I don't want them to have a bad time.
Yeah.
I do remember being high around you back in the early days and you going, nightmare, nightmare, nightmare. So
that was when I was an asshole? Yeah, I was an asshole.
So was I.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I didn't understand. I was straight edge.
I have a very relevant story, but I'm not going to share it on the
I think I know this story.
You're allowed one tangent. Such as we are.
A friend of mine and I were eating, hanging out with some fun guy, but it wasn't that much. Like I just had a little bit left, so we just split it just to kind of like feel nice. We didn't see anything or anything crazy like that. I had forgotten that I invited another like
not fun guy,
quote unquote friend, right? And I didn't want to be like, oh, we're going to hide the fact that we did that or anything. So basically, as soon as he came over, I was like, yo, just a heads up, man. Took a little bit of this. We're fine. But just in case you think we're like, whatever, just so you know, it's just so much easier to just put it out there and let you know. Mm-hmm. And this dude, acted like I am not a fucking seasoned veteran when it comes to hanging out with fun guys. because he's sitting there. He's like, "What are you doing, man? You're getting up and you're ripping all your clothes off and you're running." And I'm like, "Hey, man, the amount that I took, my body feels nice and fuzzy. That's it.
Yeah.
Whatever you're trying to do." And then so my buddy and I, who also did that, we were trying to show each other cool YouTube videos, and he was trying to show us like dumbass, like jump scare ass horror. And we were just like, dude, you're not reading the room right now.
Mm-mm.
But then the icing on the cake, we all worked together. And when I went back to work, one of my managers is like, "Hey, what's up?" And I'm like, "What?" And he shows me a Snapchat. This dude sent took a picture of me, put some like caption that kind of alluded to some fun guys, and sent it to our manager. And I I was like, "Hey, I don't want to be your friend anymore, if I'm being honest."
Fucked. So he put your job in jeopardy?
Luckily, my manager was cool and didn't quite understand what. They were just like, "Why did he just send me a picture of you sitting on the couch?" And I'm like, "No idea. He's kind of a goofball." And then I went to him and I'm like, "Yo, that's really fucked. That's not how you treat people like that." And then to send it to the manager was the icing on the cake. I'm like, "How about we don't hang out anymore?"
Yeah, fuck that shit.
No, genuinely. Genuinely. Yeah, if someone's high around you, don't fuck with them. Not a quick tangent. One time I put on Death Note 2017, and I didn't know my friend was microdosing. So that was, he didn't tell me till later, but because he's anxious. But oh god, don't do that to people. I just wish I knew.
Yeah.
It seems to me it's people who have never done stuff like that, or maybe have once or twice, and think it's like, this is the cool thing to do. And it's like, nah, man, anyone who's done that enough knows, like, you match the vibe, and that ain't the vibe.
Not the vibe.
It's a bogus move.
All right. Now we have Brendan studying at a kitchen table. Josie's making a lot of racket, so he's having a hard time focusing. So he asks his mom if she would please drop him off at the library. Exactly. Immediate spit take. Brendan asks again.
Did you actually spit your drink?
Commit to the bit, baby.
Oh, one of the cats walks by as
Right.
well as you're doing it.
I just scared Dorian.
Oh.
Well, get ready to do it again. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, I think Paula does the spit take to library 3 times. And then Brendan asks again if she could take him to the library, anticipates the spit take, which doesn't happen. Paula asks him why he wants to go to the library, and he says he needs to study. And that's when we get another spit take. While Brendan is studying, we have 3 books stacked next to him. The first one is Physics for Complete Morons by Stephen Garcia. Then we have Biology Means What by Courtney Mitchell. And the last book we have Science. Is It For Real? By Sophia and Nadia. I think it's like a hyphenated name. It looks like Crockett-Current.
Real science books.
Hell yeah, they are. Brendan walks into the library and hears a familiar voice. And that's going to be our clip for this week.
Brendan! Brendan! What are you doing here? Sorry, my fault. Forgot it was a library. Why don't you crucify a guy for f***ing nothing? So what are you doing?
I came here to study.
Yeah, me too. What a couple of losers we are, huh?
Yeah, Coach, you're bleeding. Do you know that?
Yeah, I know. Men bleed, Brendan. What we do.
Okay, I'm gonna go find a quiet corner. I'll
Hey.
What?
Come here.
What? I gotta...
Come here. Come here.
Puts his
Okay,
goggles
what?
on.
Yeah.
I did to the card catalog. I took all the cards out and threw them all over. That is hilarious. No one will ever be able to use this again.
Coach, you're really angry and weird right now.
Brendan.
What?
Brendan, let's get out of here.
Why? I have to
Because
study.
they're not like us here.
But I'm here.
Brendan, we're different. All right?
What do you
we're
mean?
Not studiers. We're not the worker ants. We're the queens. You and me are the queen bees.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
We should be running it, man. We can't be doing this.
But I have
Sticking
to...
our noses in books. We're not like that, man. You shh. Brendan,
What?
Brendan, get on my back and let's get the hell out of here.
I'm not getting on your back.
Get on my back and let's go, man. Let's go. Get on my back and let's ride. I'm talking here.
Okay, I gotta go study.
I'm gonna take a nap. All right?
Okay,
You meet me later.
all right.
Just immediately passes out. Oh, good shit.
I wrote down McGurk with a concussion is Alex Jones every day.
God. So
We're not the worker bees.
I don't want to go too deep down this rabbit hole. But have you seen the clips that someone takes Alex Jones and then puts it to like a Coach McGurk and Brendan talking?
Yeah.
And it lines up so fucking perfectly,
It's so
dude. Holy
true,
shit.
dude. That's what I'm saying.
Oh my God. Moving on. I love that. That scene. Get on my back, Brendan.
Let's go.
They're not like us.
They're not like us.
We're the queens, Brendan. Men bleed, Brendan. That's what we do.
The analogy is worker ants and queen bees. Love it.
Look what I did
Love
over
it.
there. I took the cards and threw them. Just all of the desks and all the wood is all over. The drawers are going flying.
All
There's
over.
blood on the ground.
Brendan's like, you're weirdly angry. After walking away from Coach, Brendan runs into Melissa, who's trying to find a good book to read. Brendan asks her how many books she reads, and she says a book a month. Honestly, one of my favorite lines from this episode. Brendan replies, it would take me like a year to read a book a month.
Well, I think, okay, I can see some logic behind that. Like, it takes you a year's worth of reading in order to be fast enough to read it every month.
Right.
I mean, I guess it,
Okay, I ruined the joke.
No,
I
no,
ruined the
it's
joke.
okay.
it kind of makes sense. Like it makes sense in both senses of, but that's not what he meant.
No, it's not, but I want to think that he did.
Yeah.
But also, I miss those. I used to be able to read a book a month. I used to like fucking blow through the books. Now I can barely sit still.
I blame TikTok.
TikTok. Well, that's when Jason approaches and said, well, look here if it isn't Mr. and Mrs. Library.
Got their asses, dude.
They both say hello, and I love it. Jason's like, did you hear what I said?
That's flirting.
Brendan asks Jason what he's doing there, and he says he's just returning a book. But when Melissa asks which book, Jason puts it behind his back, and we see that the book is 101 Ways to Make a Cast.
I didn't realize there were so many ways.
Right? Yeah, Jason immediately tries to leave, but Melissa insists that she'll walk him out. And as they're walking away, she asks Jason, is the arm still broken? So next we see Brendan studying in the library, humming the Trust Yourself theme to himself and slowly falling asleep. He has a dream where he sees, quote unquote, Alan Einstein telling him that he's smart. So Albert corrects him and says Albert Einstein, and Brendan just needs to trust himself. And that's when he morphs into Coach McGurk dressed as Einstein, asking if he's got a quarter for the bus. A quarter for the bus.
Quarter for
A quarter for the bus.
Two things. The portrait of Albert Einstein in the background of the library. I love that they had to put a sign under it that said Albert Einstein, because otherwise people might even think that's Mark Twain.
Right.
Or think that Alan Einstein was the thing. The second thing, this scene specifically, when it was just him going quarter for the bus and he's still bleeding in his fucking swim cap.
Yep.
I was sitting there going, McGurk bleeding with swimwear is like a ghost haunting Brendan until he gets a sub sandwich or a quarter for the bus. Like, it looks like the scene is he's a ghost haunting Brendan.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so funny because between my brother and I, just randomly, quarter for the bus, quarter for the bus.
Oh, no. And now that's one of ours.
Mm-hmm. Well, Brendan wakes up and sees that it actually is Coach McGurk reading a memo called Quarter for the Bus, which is a memo about a bus driver. Brendan pushes back and says he needs to study, but Coach McGurk tells him, hey, this was our first official book club meeting.
Because he's in a book club.
Right. You guys, does that ever come back again? And I'm like, nope. But I guess it does, because him and Brendan are in book club now.
Soft launch.
Well, they got rid of Pizza Club, so...
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we cut to Brendan again, who's closing the book and says he studied all he can, and he's just going to have to trust himself. So he leaves the library with a pretty positive attitude, even walks out and he's like, yeah! And then immediately trips down the stairs, resulting in a broken arm, We even see him lying there for a second, and his arm is like folded, like the wrong way, like a piece of paper.
Yeah.
I have a question about breaking the arm and getting out of a science test. That's not a thing.
Yeah, no.
Like, you can still take a test with a broken arm. I remember kids having broken arms in grade school, and then they would just take the test, like, out in the hallway and have a teacher, like, give them the question. Like,
Right.
And then they'd write down what the kid answered.
Yeah, true.
Sorry.
No, it's true. And especially if this is the test that Brendan was talking to Melissa about, like, oh, good timing, you broke your arm, you don't have to take. That's like weeks after she broke her arm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she'd definitely have to break. Unless it happened, like, as you were about to take the test and you had to go get a cast or whatever.
It would have made sense if they're trying to get out of
plot.
Yeah, exactly. It's for the plot. Brendan's trying to be dumb, or he's trying to be smart because he thinks he's dumb, and then he breaks his arm. It's part of the plot. But it would have made sense if it was a soccer game they were trying to get out of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you don't use your arms in soccer. So.
You're a kid.
And I would argue your arm is more protected. It's in a cast.
Yeah.
Hey, well, the next scene, we see Brendan, Jason, and Melissa. Brendan's trying to, like, steady the camera, but is having a hard time because he's got a cast. Melissa and Jason both comment on the timing of Brendan's broken arm, saying that he broke his arm right before the science test. Brendan's kind of pushing back. At one point, Jason even says, right, Melissa?
I love that that's his nickname for her.
Yeah. Well, at this point, Jason asks Brendan if he wants him to operate the camera. And Brendan points out that he couldn't do it any better because his arm is also broken. And that's when Jason reveals he didn't actually break his arm. He pulls off his cast. Brendan and Melissa immediately were like, we knew it. We knew it. Jason pushes back and he's like, no, I tricked both of you. Brendan, no. Melissa, no.
He says, at one point, he's like, you cried for me.
Oh.
I love the fact that his cast only has Walter and Perry's signature on it, which means no one else wanted to sign his cast.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
Well, Brendan's cast didn't have any signatures on it. So what does that say?
It's fresh.
Yeah. True. Well, Brendan says that they knew the whole time, and that's when Melissa says, well, do you know what you didn't know? And she takes her cast off as well, revealing that her arm was never broken.
Freaking plot twist of the century, dude.
2 different times that they show Melissa after she does it, Jason's mouth is just hanging open.
I did write down, what a twist, underlined exclamation point. But also the way that Melissa is looking towards Jason after she reveals that, like, she has been faking it the whole time. Her eyes are filled with, like, glee, and she's got such a smirk on her face. I think she was showing out for Jason. I think they like each other.
They're definitely at that age where it's all like you pick on the person that you like a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
I could see that.
Well, Brendan's very confused and asks Melissa if she did it so she could avoid the science test, and Melissa says no. So Brendan asked, did she do it for the attention? And she said, not really. She actually admits she did it because she just kind of felt like it. Wanted to shake things up for a little bit.
Me after I spread misinformation on the internet. Just wanted to shake things up. See where it went.
Right? She's just practicing her free will. I mean, sometimes it gets to you and you got to do something crazy.
Right?
Just got to go into a bank and go, shark!
Walk out.
Well, Jason starts calling Melissa like weird and psychotic, but Melissa points out that he kind of did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
His defense was, yeah, it was the same thing, but not for as long. So it was kind of different. Brendan is like, no, it was kind of the same thing. And then that's when Jason and Melissa turn it around on Brendan, saying he also faked.
Mm.
Brendan pushes back and tells them that he's not. Melissa and Jason do this bit where they're like, oh, I'm Brendan. I broke my arm. And they're like, oh, let me put my cast back on. And then it's funny because Melissa is like, oh, let me put my cast back on. I'm Brendan. And then Jason, not understanding the bit, is like, yeah, I'm Melissa. What?
Does he love Melissa or does he want to be Melissa?
Ooh. Who doesn't want to be Melissa?
That's a good
True.
question.
Well, Brendan yells again, saying he's not faking it, and even gets to the point where he shows them x-rays. And that's when Melissa says he really broke his arm? What a sucker.
That's so mean.
It is, dude. Such a Jason line.
Melissa is mean this episode. Still love her to death. But...
Mean Lissa. Well, we have the penultimate scene. Coach McGurk is doing mouth-to-mouth on the instructor, who sits up and tells him he cannot pass McGurk.
So they kissed.
I breathe into him.
We don't see him like giving mouth to mouth. We just see like him going down and then coming back up. And then
And he's like, there, I saved you.
And then it's revealed that it was the instructor he was and he's nowhere near his mouth when he's like hunched over him. He's
Oh no, I didn't even notice
yeah, so that's where I'm like, I think he was trying to become a lifeguard in some other fashion.
He's desperate to get that mill. Oh
Yeah.
damn. What
Well-
did he revive then?
Love. That's when the instructor points out he didn't pass the written, the oral, or the physical.
Oh my goodness. He's not good at head, guys.
Oh, damn.
So, Coach asks him what his price is, and the instructor pushes back and saying, I don't work that way. Coach says, give me a number, and that's when the instructor says $10,000. Coach pulls out a check and says, you got it. When he gives it to the instructor reads the name on it, quote unquote, Donald Lynch. It's Ronald. And Coach says, yeah, that's my company.
So his first name is Ronald, not Donald?
Correct.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
It's his brother's Donald.
Yeah. Well, we got a black screen that says 1 week later, and we see Coach McGurk working as a lifeguard, drinking a black hole brew. He yells, hey, you kid, stop flailing around.
I love the way that his body shakes, the way they animated him.
He finally gives up and says, all right, I'll save you, but you better be rich. And that's the end of season 3, episode 11, Broken Dreams. Although during the credits, we have a longer version of the Trust Yourself theme that gets a little unhinged towards the end there.
You want to read out the lyrics? Or do you want me to?
Yeah, go for it.
Trust yourself. What else you gonna do? Trust yourself. You gotta fly to the moon. Trust yourself. You can do it, boy. Listen to me, damn it. You can do it. Trust yourself. I'm gonna come there myself. Trust yourself, and I'll kick you in the ass if I have to. Trust yourself. You can do it. Trust your fucking self, you little... I don't know what trust yourself. Could have been anything there. You're a little dirty son of a gun. Trust yourself. I'm gonna get you. Trust yourself. Oh my god. And at one point in the subtitles they put your, but they messed up and they put like an apostrophe E onto it, and it's in red letters.
That's funny.
Accompanied by McGurk in lifeguard gear running towards the camera.
Oh gosh, what was that show called?
Baywatch.
Baywatch, yeah.
With David Hasselhoff.
The Hoff.
I'm David Hasselhoff.
And that is Broken Dreams. How do we feel? How do you feel about the title and the episode?
Well,
Not a fan of the title.
he did break his arm, and he did have a dream, like an actual dream in the episode.
I'm not a huge fan of the title, but
No.
you can make it fit if you really want to. But I'm not. I mean, he also he got to be a lifeguard at the end, so not necessarily a broken dream.
True. It only cost him $10,000 of Donald Lynch's money.
And he had to give him a blowjob.
Yeah.
Not bad, not
I
bad.
mean, McGurk should have been paying him from the start.
Exactly. What, do we have any more thoughts on this episode, or do we want to hop into grades? Let's do that. Well, as per usual, Jason first.
So Jason didn't have a lot of spectacular moments. He definitely had a tone. He definitely had some. He was more of a grown up this time around, but still Jason. Because in the beginning, he's trying to fix plot holes in the movie. He's like, no, it doesn't make sense. I should be the one because I have 2 arms. And I guess he wants the product to be decent, but then he also is like, oh, I'm jealous of Melissa's notoriety and how much attention she's getting. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to get a cast of my own. And just the way that he had his face, he was just so smug the entire time. Kind of like when he was in the grocery store, he's like, I'm running this show. But nothing terrible. He was just kind of like, a brat. So A minus. Nothing great.
Oh,
Oh, that's great.
yeah, that's fair.
That's a good grade.
I like it. I like it a lot. All right. Episode grades. Whom would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Adele.
I enjoyed this episode. I don't know why those like bumps on his head icked me out so much.
Yeah.
I feel like that really just made my body hurt a lot. But other than that, the plot went by super fast. It was funny, some really good earworms, but I'm just going to give it a solid A.
I think that's very fair.
I blame the bumps.
Ah,
Yeah.
nice.
That's kind of why I liked the episode. Maybe not the bumps specifically, because they were incredibly gross. I did not like, especially when you see the blood start oozing. I don't know why, but when that starts happening, you see on screen, like in wrestling, it happens all the time where someone gets hit in the head and then blood starts pulling from their hair. I don't know why I find that extremely gross, but it just is. But then the concussion McGurk that came from that made me very much enjoy this episode. Really enjoyed it. I was worried that we were going to get on this string of, all of these episodes are now just A pluses. Like, not worried in a sense of, like, oh yeah, great episodes, like from banger after banger after banger after banger. But like, now I have nothing to judge. They're all just great.
Yeah.
But this was a really good episode. I think Adele's right on the money with an A. I think it was really good,
Hell yeah.
really fun.
Absolutely. I agree with everything, you guys said about this episode. I love the pacing of it. It was such an easy episode to break down. A lot of really good earworms. God, you got to love the twist ending.
Yeah.
And even though they've mentioned it in commentary before, but yeah, sometimes the twist ending was, but actually, it was Melissa.
No one suspects her.
Right? Because she's so great. And that's why I was kind of... Also, another reason why I got knocked down a couple of points is she was just mean in this episode.
Sure.
And I don't really like mean Melissa.
I get it. But I mean, I agree with you guys on all fronts. I've mentioned time and time again, season 3 is my favorite. There's so many great episodes. I've already given out so many S's and S plus minus whatever. I don't think this episode is quite there in that territory for me. If I'm just like jonesing to watch an episode, this one rarely, if ever, comes up on the radar. But it's one that when I do come across it and rewatch it, I have a lot of fun with it. So I agree. This isn't an A minus. This isn't an A plus. This is a straight down the middle A episode. Very good. A lot of good earworms. Very well done. Yes, A.
Hey.
We haven't had a triple A in a while.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
Interesting.
Mr. Arthur Fonzarelli.
Hey.
We did it.
We did do it.
Anything else with this episode that we want to add or talk about?
No, it was a good episode. Nothing to really add.
Yes. Very good. Very good. Nothing to add. Very good. Very good. Very good. Do we have anything we want to plug or promote quickly before the end of the episode?
Just still working on Puzzle Valley. It's very episode 2. I think I told you guys off mic, but I'll announce it here, I suppose. Episode 2, titled "The Painted Lighthouse Puzzle."
Oh shit!
Should be dropping in the next, honestly, week or two.
Nice.
Exciting.
Still working on it. I got kind of hit with obviously I had to re-edit. I had to edit the episode for rewatching, so I had to take a break. But it's on its way. It was honestly a much needed break because just sitting there and like cutting through like an episode of us making jokes is so much more enjoyable than like having to sit there and go, okay, let me move this slightly to the left. But yeah.
Hell yeah. Puzzle Valley, let's go. I think that's going to do it for us. So I guess all I'm really asking for is a quarter for the bus.
A quarter for the bus.
A quarter for the bus.
A steak and cheese sub sandwich.
Peppers and onions. That's going to do it for this episode of Rewatching Home Movies. Join us next week for Season 3, Episode 12, titled Stowaway. If you liked what you heard, check out our Linktree at Linktree/RHMpod. There you can like, follow, and subscribe. Send us an email to request some free stickers, or leave us a 5-star review. I will read 5-star reviews on the podcast. Thanks to Jens for the refresh of our logo and Chris Bongat for the use of our theme song. On behalf of myself, Tim, and my co-hosts Marcin and Adele, thank you for rewatching home movies with us. We'll see you next week. Bye.
And then afterwards, all right, same time next week, guys.